Welcome to Tagged Beyond the Award, the podcast that celebrates innovation, excellence, and leadership. Each episode dives into inspiring stories behind the nominees and winners of the TAG Awards, uncovering the breakthroughs, challenges, and triumphs that define their journey. Whether it's cutting-edge technology, transformative products, or visionary leadership, we're here to explore what it means to stand out and shape the future of your industry. Let's go beyond the award and into the heart of innovation. Here's your host, Justin Starbird.
Welcome back to Tagged Beyond the Award. My name is Justin Starbird, and I get to welcome a new judge to the TAG Awards, old friend of the Abler Group and mine personally, Rick Curtis. Rick, great to have you on. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Justin. It's my privilege. Good morning.
Well, yeah, I mean, man, it's my privilege to have you on. You were one of the first companies that took a chance on the Abler Group as we made a transition into the medical device and medical manufacturing space. It's been, pretty neat to get to know you, watch your journey, and see, be a part of your career.
Well, thanks. You were an important part of a lot of the success that we had. And I enjoyed working with your team a lot and continue to.
Well, I appreciate that. It's always been neat to talk over the years. Of course, you and I work together. You've worked with our team and that sort of thing. But we've also had sort of a quarterly standing meeting just to catch up and talk about the industry. You've been in it for a long time. Not to say that you're old, but you've definitely had your share of experiences in the space. Talk a little bit about, what you're up to today and a little bit about your career.
Today I'm kind of in between projects. But during my career, I've done some different things. I've been fortunate enough to work at several different world-class medical device and medical equipment organizations, and during that time was given the opportunity to work in roles where I was able to learn a lot about the industry in areas of strategic planning and strategic investments that we made for different corporations, and so my roles that I've had kind of helped me to be able to see a lot of the different things and the changes, and to do that over a period of 25 years, you start to see different trends and different patterns that work, that don't work, and I guess that's where having gray hair really helps too. So,
well, then we both must be very experienced. You have been on the leadership side. I feel like you're selling yourself quite short here. Having witnessed your leadership in leading companies, both from the buying, selling side of things, but also helping build businesses to be sold. As in this industry, in that respect, you are a little bit ahead of the M&A curve in MedTech. What did you see, and what was important as you went through some of those journeys?
Yeah, I was always a big believer in placing bets and making investments in areas that were had science behind them, but that were really kind of on the leading or the cutting edge, so that we could really be pioneers and explore and push into new areas. And fortunately for me, with implantable devices early in my career, we were doing a lot of that, and I learned kind of the successful ways of doing that. And so I was able to kind of carry that through into my career in other areas. And more recently with my EirMed experience, it helped me to evaluate customers. It helped me to evaluate projects and to make decisions about where we wanted to spend our time and how we wanted to deploy resources in building a a healthier and a faster growing, more profitable business.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that goes into that decision making, right? I mean, not just externally, of course, you want to have good, profitable customers that you're working with, but internally, you also need to create systems and make sure the team is pulling in the same direction. How do you go about doing that, or how did you go about doing that?
The important thing for me was making sure that I had the competencies within our team. And so sometimes we would have those competencies within our employees. Sometimes we would have the competencies within partners that we could draw on, and especially in situations where it was a very specialized competency that we would need. We may not be able to utilize them 100% of their time, but we may need them a week, a month, or something. So we would make sure that those skill sets and competencies were lined up in advance of us really trying to push forward and to make pathways into areas. They would help validate our beliefs about certain spaces of the market, and to help us make decisions about how we were going about venturing into those different areas.
Sure. Yeah, one of the things I always felt was fascinating was how you helped your customers, especially at EirMed. That's where you and I got to work together. You were, of course, leading the business, and you brought on our team to help in one of those competencies on the marketing side. But one of the things I always thought was fascinating was how you helped those companies, your customers that had these wonderful ideas. They had gone through the FDA clearance. They were now looking for manufacturing partners to take the next step, and you guys provided an integral part of that. What was it like? How did you evaluate those potential customers and the clients, and guide them so that they had even more success utilizing your strong capabilities?
Yeah, I think one of the advantages I had was having been in their shoes many times earlier in my career. I saw the difference between uh, strong partners that would provide those types of benefits for me when I was in their role versus um, suppliers or partners that would just do the bare minimum and weren't looking to go beyond that. They really weren't looking to build a relationship that could grow beyond what the original plan was. And so anytime EirMed got involved with customer, we were always looking to grow that relationship beyond where we were starting. And we really wanted our customers to see us as an extension of their business.
Okay.
And we needed to make sure that we were making them a better company, because if we didn't bring something that really helped us make them uniquely better, then at any time we could be replaced. And we wanted to make sure that we were strategically important to them.
Absolutely. I think that's what a lot of companies are striving for is that, once you land, how can you go deeper and wider and really be a trusted ally, right?
That's right.
Today, you say you're in between projects. Again, I feel like you're being so modest. You've gone through the due diligence process on several projects, and some are closer to working out than others. But you're active every day in this space, and in spite of that, you've still said yes to joining the Tag Awards judging team, and for that, I'm eternally grateful. What ended up making you decide to say yes to be a judge this year?
Um, I think I'm a big believer in the space. I like what the program that you're setting up. I've seen companies really benefit from programs like this, that were able to really get a boost up to help give them a way to set themselves apart from other companies very early in their life cycle, in the growth of their company. and to get noticed, to have a way to differentiate yourself early on. Those things are very, very difficult. So for those companies that do succeed and get involved and have success, it can make a big difference for them over the long term.
Yeah, I mean, we are absolutely hopeful that that is what we see with our nominees and eventual winners. And going back to your previous roles as CEO or owner of some of the businesses that you've run, from your perspective, what is it like to evaluate some of these companies? How will coming at it from the leadership perspective help you influence your feedback that you give the nominees?
Yeah, I would look at it very much like I looked at a lot of our investment opportunities and/or a lot of the customer partnering opportunities, where you got to look at the business itself, but you got to look at the space that they're looking to play into, the markets they're going, how leverageable the capabilities are, and the type of experience that the organization has, and how unique they are in being able to increase the probability of their success in that space. So those to me are kind of all important elements of looking at companies that are going to be successful in the markets they go into.
Yeah, I love the fact that you bring up the uniqueness of the products, because often, we're seeing nominees that are novel, that they're solving problems that most don't even know exist. But you've been on the other side of it, and I'm sure you can relate to the challenges of creating, innovative solutions in the medtech space. What is that like for you? I mean, how much can you appreciate the fact that, they're at this stage and, looking for this recognition?
Yeah, sometimes it's not always just the product itself that needs to be changed. Sometimes it's a service that may go along with it. Sometimes it may be, in many cases that I was involved with, it wasn't necessarily a certain implantable device. It might be instrumentation or a delivery mechanism of how that device would get implanted, or how that device would, different ways of delivering the product to the customer. There's many different things that go into it to make the offering and the importance of the product or service to the customer unique and valuable. And I think being able to take that really holistic look, oftentimes commodity markets can become more entrepreneurial and can change their growth profile by taking that bigger look at them.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's certainly something that it definitely pushes the envelope, so to speak. What does that do for the team? You've gone through this before. You've participated in other awards programs. You've been the leader of the company that's put in these nominations. What does that do for the folks that are boots on the ground?
I think most, people that are performers, that are enjoy working hard, that are, that care about the success of their venture, of their team, of their company. They want to see growth. They want to see, and so for the company to really be focusing that way, and to be, I think that it's a huge motivator when it's done right. And I think it's a really important part that has to be there in order for the company to be able to achieve more than just, growing at market rates, or just, if they're really going to be unique and be different, the commitment and the buy-in from the employees is essential.
Does it matter what size company it is, whether it's a name brand or a startup, or you know, um, does that impact the culture regardless?
It impacts all. I think sometimes it's even more important in the smaller ones, because they can make the biggest difference in the quickest amount of time. Um, in larger companies, it's important for it to happen, but to obviously change mindsets of a big group of people is difficult. But it's important that you have that culture there, that's able um, to continue to change and to continue to grow and to push the envelope.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, thinking about it from the leadership perspective, often an awards program can, be that, pivotal force that nudges everybody forward, or gives them some reprieve, or gives them a chance to celebrate. Having been on that side of it, what are some of the real advantages to, especially a small team, to win an award? What does that do, for their psyche or motivation, or how can a company really capture all of that?
Yeah, I think anytime um, a company project gets a win, it's a big deal. And the real successful organizations make sure that they're talking about that, they're identifying that, and they're celebrating those wins. But as important, that group has something to communicate outward to suppliers, to partners, to customers, to other people, so that they can begin to differentiate themselves from any other small company that's out there. And it can help become a way for them to be able to recruit those more skilled and more sought after partners that may not always be interested in working with a small company or working with somebody new to a space, versus when they start to see some successes that they're having, they they oftentimes will give them a second look, and say, hey, there must be something here because look at, they won this award.
Yeah.
So it's it definitely helps to set them apart.
That's a great point. I really am glad that you brought that up, because often, we get asked about, fundraising, and it seems like no matter the size of the company right now, everybody's looking for, money that's coming from outside to help them advance whatever mission it is that they have. You're on that side of it now. Of course, we've talked a lot about your entrepreneurial background, and companies that you have, been able to grow and then sell, and others that you've personally invested in. From the investment side, is that something that does really move the needle, or validates that it is a investment worthwhile making?
It definitely helps. And, any of the um, successes that a company can demonstrate, especially early on, um, the more credible they're going to be to investors, and to others that are looking to work with that company. So definitely, um, the more things on that list, the higher the probability that um, they're not only going to get money, but then they're going to be able to get money on better terms.
Yeah,
And that's all an important part of it as well.
sure. Thinking about the industry right now, and thinking about what you're evaluating for projects that come across your desk, what are some trends that you're seeing on the innovation or technology side, or even service side, that you are excited about, that you're looking forward to get behind?
Yeah. I've always had a strong interest in tissue engineering. And, the technology there has certainly come a long way. A lot of different applications that are continuing to develop, and market segments that are continuing to grow. So that's one that's, I think, a very exciting to me. Um, Bioresorbable polymers is another one that the applications for it are continuing to grow. The capabilities of being able to provide it are really kind of in their infancy right now, and there's some big opportunities there for those segments. So that's a market where the capabilities got to get caught up in order to help grow and to build those market spaces,
Yeah.
because right now they wouldn't be able to meet the needs of the markets. So those are a couple of different areas. Drug device combinations have always been kind of interest to me, as well as kind of biologics with devices in terms of how they get them to work together. Certainly regulations on some of those are a little bit different and more challenging, but the need for those types of solutions is big. It's great.
Does I agree. I think all of those subcategories within the industry are paramount right now. I mean, they're at the forefront and only pushing forward faster with more implementation from algorithms, machine learning, AI in general. What are you seeing in terms of some of the bigger challenges that are out there right now that are facing some of these startups or even existing businesses that are, haven't advanced to that proverbial next level?
Yeah. I think we've gone through a lot of our recruiting woes, where recruiting was so difficult. I think it's still a big challenge, but I think it's getting better. It's improving, especially for certain types of talent. I think one of the big opportunities is for businesses that may benefit or be able to utilize some of the advances right now that are coming through in AI.
Hmm.
I think in healthcare, that's going to be a game changer. And I think that's going to be a super exciting area to continue to watch, and to see who the winners are there.
Yeah, I agree. Because the ones that are, if you're just starting now, you're way behind, right? So a lot of these companies in this space in general, I mean, the expectation, it's so funny to me that the expectation for consumers is that it's just like electronics or, consumer devices, but truly there are so many more regulations that are required and steps to follow before something can make it into an operating room or into a clinician's hand or even a wearable device to bring home, that just make it more difficult to be successful, right?
Well, and even for the clinicians to have access to um, these technologies that help them better make decisions is going to be a game changer. It's also going to be a big game changer in helping to direct clinical studies, either on a kind of on a pro forma basis, but also potentially as studies are ongoing, as they look at you know modifying things, or as they look at tailoring studies or running subsequent studies to certain studies. It's going to be a big tool, an important tool for them to be more successful. And so the whole game there is helping to speed up approvals, and by helping to speed them up, you're going to save money, and time.
Yeah.
So all those things kind of tie together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on with that assessment. And hopefully, the change in office doesn't put any hindrance on the industry and moving things forward. So that's a discussion for another day, but it's certainly something that's being talked about all the time.
Right.
Uh,
Exactly.
Yeah. What are you most looking forward to? Here we are, in the beginning of February 2025. I know have a full slate, even though, as you say, you're in between projects. The truth is that you really do have a lot going on. But what are you most looking forward to this year?
I think this year for me has been one of being able to do things like what we're talking about here. So, most of my career, I was the one that was being helped by others, being pulled along by my partners, by my outside groups that brought capabilities in. I'm interested and excited and energized by being able to be involved with helping some other companies get through to success quicker and to help them, successfully steer some of the challenges that they bump into. So that's kind of I'm looking forward to kind of that next phase of things.
Well, we're certainly appreciative that you are, part of this journey with us. Definitely looking forward to your feedback on the nominees that come in and seeing your opinions on what makes them so unique and better and different than what's out there. I think, your network is and what you've been able to accomplish is second to none. So, Rick, really appreciate you joining the judging board and joining me today on this latest episode.
It's a pleasure and privilege, and I'm looking forward to it very much.
Good deal. Well, on behalf of my guest today, investor, entrepreneur, Rick Curtis, you've been listening to Tagged Beyond the Award.
On behalf of our guest today and host Justin Starbird, thank you for listening to Tagged Beyond the Award. We hope you've been inspired by the stories of innovation and leadership shared today. Don't forget to subscribe and join us for more incredible journeys behind the breakthroughs. If you or someone you know is leading the way in innovation, visit tagawards.co to learn more about how to get involved. Until next time, stay driven, keep innovating, and keep reaching for excellence.